It's Tuesday, March 17th, and this is now on HNN.
With this invisible enemy, we don't want airlines going out of business. We don't want people losing their jobs or not having money to live.
Officials say the disruption in American life could last for months as the Trump administration is taking steps to try to help people and businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic.
We are looking to save the maximum number of lives. Everything else is going to come back.
Here at home, Hawaii's largest tourist attraction shuts down, plus the latest on the community spread of the virus in the state.
So this is the next phase of COVID-19 for Hawaii.
Excuse me, but it feels like hell.
Experts say more than 80,000 people worldwide who contracted the coronavirus have recovered. We'll share some of their stories coming up on This Is Now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer, alongside Ashley. Actually, not too alongside. We were practicing some social distancing here on all our HNN shows. You'll see our anchors spread out in different parts of our newsroom and studio just to practice what we preach here, and I hope you all are taking the same caution. We'll get to the latest on the virus in just a moment, but first we have some breaking weather news to get to.
Right, severe weather continues to batter parts of the state as a system lingers nearby. Flash flood warnings have been issued for Kauai until 12:45 p.m. and Oahu until 1 p.m. A severe thunderstorm watch has also been posted for Maui, Molokai, and Lanai until 5 tonight. On Oahu, heavy rain and flooding prompted city officials to close the Honolulu Zoo for the day. The rain also flooded a stretch of the H1 freeway in Pearl City, creating what looked like a river. On the Garden Isle, the Kauai Emergency Management Agency reported that there were several ongoing flooding impacts around the island. Kuhio Highway remains closed at the Hanalei Bridge. A shelter is open at Hanalei Elementary School. Kaumuali'i Highway between Kalaheo and Eleele near the Wahiawa Bridge lookout has been closed. There are also road closures in Waimea Town. Now, the Waimea River continues to run high and significant flooding is already occurring at nearby properties. And our Kauai viewers have been sending in dramatic severe weather photos and videos from across the island. We encourage you to keep them coming in so we can share them on our newscast.
Yeah, and I just wanted to describe one of them to you here. Here's a video from the H1 in Pearl City, and you were describing it there, but really that water is up to the ledge there on those, what are those called, dividers, or those concrete barricades there on the edge. You know, those are several feet high, and there's only a few inches there between the water and the top of those barricades. Also, you were talking about the Garden Isle. We've had reports of 2 tornado warnings this morning. There hasn't been a tornado warning in this state since 2008. We're going to have so much more on this developing weather news coming up. But first, we want to get you turned over to the latest on the virus. You know, the White House, they and the Senate are negotiating another economic stimulus package to combat the economic fallout from this virus outbreak.
That's right. And here's Natalie Brand from the White House.
The U.S. Senate has vowed it will not leave Washington until it passes legislation to address the coronavirus crisis.
Senate Republicans, in conjunction with the administration, are going to write a next bill. We will then discuss with the Democrats what we can agree to pass.
Some lawmakers are proposing adult Americans receive checks for at least $1,000 to ease the economic impact of the pandemic.
That idea has a lot more resonance with our members than does, for example, a payroll tax cut.
We're looking at sending checks to Americans immediately.
Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin headed to Capitol Hill to discuss the plan with lawmakers. While talks are ongoing, CBS News has confirmed the administration is considering an at least $850 billion stimulus proposal that could include a payroll tax cut, small business loans, and a bailout for the airline industry.
President Trump has held meetings today with restaurant and tourism executives, 2 of the industries hardest hit by this ongoing crisis.
One of the world's largest hotel chains, Marriott, is furloughing tens of thousands of workers and closing hotels worldwide. Restaurants and bars continue to close across the nation, switching to carry-out and drive-through service only, and some retailers are implementing seniors-only shopping hours to protect those most at risk.
Enjoy your home. Stay.
More than 7 million residents in the San Francisco Bay Area have been mandated to shelter in place. Other states have either implemented or are considering curfews. Natalie Brent, CBS News, the White House.
All right, we want to get a check of Wall Street. There was actually a bit of a rally today. Let's check out the numbers here. I'm going to pull them up for us now here in the Digital Center. The Dow up 5%. That's a big change from yesterday.
Yeah.
That's 1,048 points. That's bringing us to 21,237 there on the Dow. Other markets seeing rallies as well. Now you got some updates on some other numbers. We're talking about the cases here locally, right,
Right,
Ash?
so there are currently 10 coronavirus cases in Hawaii. So here's the breakdown. Oahu has 6. There are 2 cases each on Maui and Kauai, but at least 7 other tests are still pending. Now, one of those cases is a worker at Kualoa Ranch. She tested positive and is Hawaii's first apparent community spread case. Now, the young woman did not travel off island. We're told she lives in a multi-generational home in close proximity to about 25 people who have all been tested. We're told 2 kupuna and a baby in the home were showing symptoms. The owner of Kualoa Ranch says the operation will be shut down for the next 7 days to test employees and notify visitors who may have been in contact with her.
Now, Lieutenant Governor Josh Green was on Sunrise this morning, had a very interesting interview with our own Grace Lee. We want to play that out for you here.
You know, Lieutenant Governor, we wanted to talk about this case, this first case, Kualoa Ranch, a lady there who has tested positive. What does this mean in the greater sense?
The bigger picture is we now have community spread. We're going to see a lot more of that as we get reports from our private labs that we stood up with all of our partners last week. So this is the next phase of COVID-19 for Hawaii. You will now start hearing stories each and every hour about someone who may have been exposed to a case, and we'll be able to test a lot more. We'll talk more about testing here in a moment, but this is now the new normal. There will be some community spread to deal with.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about the press conference yesterday with Governor Ige, because this case was brought up. This was something that we at Hawaii News Now had confirmed separately before the governor's press conference. And when asked about it, the governor almost seemed like he didn't know anything about the case. Can you explain what was going on behind the scenes or why that seemed to be the case?
Well, now the whole healthcare system has expanded its capacity, so you get private testing all across the islands. It goes faster than even the Department of Health can go because providers are out there working, like the Department of Health is working 24/7, but they're also testing people all across the state, and labs, the private labs, are processing these tests day and night. So some of the information is going to roll in faster than even the press can keep up with. I was aware of that case also late Sunday night. I was on call and talking to my provider friends. So they had to go through the process of reporting it to the DOH, but lots of us know about other cases that are beginning to peak out, and the Department of Health goes and responds as quickly as possible.
I hate to get into the politics of this, Lieutenant Governor, but the fact that you knew about it, our newsroom knew about it in an unconfirmed report on Sunday night. We asked the governor about it on Monday afternoon, and there's no information. Is this some sort of breakdown of communication? I mean, the whole reason for the emergency proclamation is to help speed things along and to get rid of the bureaucracy that we're seeing in our state government.
Well, I don't know about breakdown of communication. There's a lot of communication to be had. In the age of cell phones, testing at labs, mobile testing, drive-through testing, it's just a larger volume than anyone can deal with. I could tell you from the time that I did a presentation yesterday at noon and we finished the text of it at 10:30, it already had increased the number by 3 of cases that we had in Hawaii. So it's going like lightning speed. Best we can do is I will share everything with the Gov and his team at all times from the healthcare side. My responsibility is the healthcare response and working with our private guys. That is much bigger than the Department of Health. Department of Health has to look at the global situation, how to mitigate spread, how to slow down spread, how to do social distancing. But the private sector is who will respond at the hospitals and clinics.
Okay, last question about this particular subject, but how is it that 1 hour later, the mayor of Honolulu, Mayor Kirk Caldwell, was able to give us a lot more information about this community spread case, and the governor was not?
I don't know, the mayor likes to ham it up for the TV, and he was giving his best report. I'm sure he and governor shared some information, but within that hour, it's very possible that they finalized and were able to confirm that they wanted to share the extra details.
So,
they're very close.
So politics getting in the way of getting information to the public, is that what you're saying?
Not for me. I'll share anything anytime, as you know.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the things that were not done yesterday. We're seeing in communities in San Francisco, they have essentially locked down 7 million people out there. Other states have said that we do not want restaurants open, we don't want bars open. At what point do we say that we're going to do the same here, that the governor hasn't even banned large gatherings as of yet?
Well, there's a new show in town right now. General Hara, running the Emergency Operating Center, is going to consolidate all of the plans, and he will be very, very conservative, I'm positive, in gatherings. I think we will quickly approximate the most conservative gatherings. He and I have talked about the model in Taiwan and South Korea, which were very effective. I think we are going to see a 6-week significant movement to have social distancing at its utmost capacity, because if we slow the virus down now, we'll save lives later. So I think we're going to head quickly towards gatherings of no more than 10 people. I would encourage people, follow the Department of Health recommendations. They came in at 50 with the CDC, but formally, we have to be very serious for the next 6 weeks. And if we do that, we'll see far fewer critical cases in the hospital in about another month later when we see the peak.
So you think that we'll see these restrictions coming soon for our state?
I would guess we will. I'm going to defer, obviously, to General Hara, who's going to be the point person per the governor and his proclamation, which was a very smart move by the governor. It takes, like you said earlier, all the politics out of it. They can operate efficiently, get the best information from the Department of Health, get good coordination with the county. Mayor Caldwell's doing some good stuff. Absolutely, I want to say that. To work on helping the homeless, prevent them from being infected and on the streets. My team will work with him. There's a lot of good work, but having General Hara make the recommendations will be a smarter way to go.
And new this morning, Aloha Stadium has canceled or rescheduled all events until May 14th over the coronavirus pandemic. That includes the swap meet, which is currently held 3 times a week. Now, no concerts were scheduled during this period, but some junior football tournaments and other sporting events needed to be moved. The Pearl Harbor National Memorial has closed due to the outbreak. The USS Arizona is Hawaii's largest tourist attraction. The National Park Service could not say how long tours will be suspended. The USS Bowfin, the Battleship Missouri, and the Aviation Museum are not part of the national park and have not announced any plans to close.
All right, we have a travel alert we want to get to. Since midnight, travelers from the UK and Ireland have been banned from entering the US. That's the latest restrictions that went into effect. We want to talk more about the world impact from this outbreak. We're going to check in with Elizabeth Palmer. She works for CBS News. Let's hear what she reported.
Nous sommes en guerre.
We are at war. French President Emmanuel Macron said as he announced that as of noon today, French people should only go outdoors to buy necessities or to get to work. Schools, restaurants, and cafes have been closed. In Britain, too, the Prime Minister announced new measures.
It looks as though we're now approaching the fast growth part of the upward curve, and without drastic action, cases could double every 5 or 6 days.
To slow it down, people here are being encouraged to avoid public spaces, though pubs, restaurants, and even gyms are still open. Spain, which saw an explosion of cases last week, is virtually shut down. And at European land borders, travel is set to be further restricted and in some places shut down completely. Italy, which has been especially hard hit, is still struggling to bring the infection rate under control. And Italians are learning to cope with a new reality.
Every 2 days we take a walk.
Chinese medical workers have arrived in Italy to share their experiences with the Italians. But the WHO says beating this virus depends on one key thing.
We have a simple message for all countries: test, test, test.
The message from all officials here is this is going to get worse before we turn the corner and start improving. But there is a little ray of hope from the place where this all kicked off, Wuhan in China today, reporting only one single new case. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, London.
Now with more on testing locations here in the state, here's Billy V.
In total, there are about 40 testing sites. This is according to a list that was sent to us by a spokeswoman on behalf of the State Department of Health. So let's go island by island, and we can kind of show you here. There are 3 locations over on the island of Kauai, and that does include Wilcox Memorial Hospital. They have a drive-up screening site. Let's go to the island of Oahu. There's about 25 testing sites here, and that includes Kaiser, Castle, Queens, and Kapi'olani. Over on the island of Maui, you can get tested at Kula Hospital or Maui Memorial. Drive-through and walk-in screening is also being done at Molokai General Hospital and Community Clinic in Kaunakakai. Now, for the island of Lanai, testing is still pending. And there are 3 test sites on Hawaii Island. They are Kona Community Hospital is on the list, but an automated phone message says the facility is not conducting tests. Remember that most, if not all, of those locations require a doctor's note. And in most cases, you will not be tested unless you meet certain criteria. You are urged to call ahead for either walk-in or drive-in screening. And Urgent Care Hawaii on Oahu has stopped drive-through testing because its locations have been overwhelmed with demand. We'll post the full list of test locations online, and that's of course at our site at hawaiinewsnow.com. Here's a reminder about the symptoms of the coronavirus. Of course, shortness of breath, cough, fever, sore throat, and runny nose. If you are sick, stay home and call before going to your doctor's office.
All right, thank you, Billy, for that report. We want to switch gears here for just a moment because we do have some breaking severe weather news. Right now, there's a flash flood warning in effect for the Garden Isle till 12:45, and here on Oahu until 1 p.m. We're taking a live look outside of a video feed coming into the digital center of downtown, and all we can see is just a few tops of buildings there. Completely looks like a washout today for much of the state. And what happened earlier today is super interesting. That's because we actually had 2 tornado warnings issued. That has not happened, I mentioned this earlier, has not happened since 2008. Our own Guy Hoggy talked to the National Weather Service about it just a short time ago. Let's listen into that interview.
To help us out, joining us live by phone is Bob Ballard from the National Weather Service to discuss this morning's tornado warning for Kauai. It has since expired. Actually, 2 tornado events this morning. Good morning, Bob. How are you doing?
Good morning, Guy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, we haven't had a tornado warning anywhere in the state since 2008. So why this morning? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. We had a situation where we had turning winds in the low levels of the atmosphere. What that means is thunderstorms that are out over the water will sometimes tend to want to rotate and form water spouts. A couple of those that formed near Ni'ihau and Kauai earlier this morning looked like they were headed toward land. One during the very early this morning heading into Ni'ihau, and then another one onto southwest Kauai. So both of those, we saw rotation on radar that was strong enough that we felt like we needed to issue tornado warnings for those, and so we did.
Yeah, have you heard anything in terms of the actual effects, how strong the winds were, if any damage happened, anything like that?
No, it looked like both signatures shortly after they came ashore, as they were coming ashore, were falling apart pretty quickly, but there still definitely could be some damage in those areas. So if anyone has any wind damage or anything that occurred at their location, they'll want to report that to local law enforcement. And they can ask law enforcement to relay that to us.
Yeah, and also to the extent that the damaged path wouldn't be wide for something like this, would be very, very localized and small, correct?
Yeah, these don't look like big Oklahoma-wide tornadoes. They'd be really small damaged paths. But still, if you're in the path of those events, then you're gonna feel some pretty significant effects. So we urge people to take those things seriously. And then there are some situations around here where you can get tornadoes that are a little bit larger. We're not really in that so much this morning, but it's a myth to say that we never get tornadoes that are a little bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they do get posted, people gotta really perk up their ears and take action, take quick action.
Yeah, you want to take them seriously and get away from like outside walls and get away from windows and find an interior room when you get a tornado warning.
Yeah, definitely.
Same here as everywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not something we're used to.
No, it's pretty uncommon, like you mentioned.
Now the threat continues. In fact, the flash flood warning has been extended now for Kauai until 9:45, and I'm seeing lots of moisture down to the south headed their way.
Yeah, that's the big story. That's the one that's going to be more problematic for more people. Is that we have this slow-moving band of pretty heavy rain, which has just been drenching Kauai for a long period of time now. We think some of this is going to make its way toward Oahu during the afternoon hours. And this Kona low is kind of just sitting and spinning out there to our west, so keeping that big tap of moisture going up over the islands for the next few days. There's some indications we may get another pretty good wave of rain later this week, so we're keeping an eye on that. So we want people to be vigilant of the flood situation, and remember our rule of thumb is turn around, don't drown. Don't drive into areas where water covers the road.
Yeah, and it's not going to take a whole lot of rain to cause more flooding because the ground's so saturated. Now, you got to be impressed by the rainfall totals over on Kauai, about 20 inches in Waialeale over the last 24 hours. That's incredible, Bob.
Yeah, those are really hefty rainfall totals. You know, with this slow-moving band, it's just raining and raining and raining there. Now, that Mount Waialeale is one of the wettest places in the world, so it's not completely unheard of course, to see rainfall of that amount up there. But you know, if you live in the Hawaiian Islands for a while, there's a pretty respectable rain. Even in some of the lower elevations, you're seeing several inches of rain. So this is a situation to take seriously. And of course, what happens is when you get these steady rainfall rates, then when you have heavier storms move in, the ground is already saturated. You put heavy rainfall rates on top of that, and flash flooding is going to happen very quickly. So that's why we want people to take the warning seriously. When you get a warning, you need to take action.
Right. So the threat continues highest for Kauai, and then it goes down the island chain, right, with less of a threat over on the Big Island. That's going to continue to be the case, although the threat's going to ramp up for Oahu and Maui County sometime by tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we think so. Again, as you get farther east, the chance goes down. I don't want to let anybody off the hook at this point.
Right.
There are some signals that you could get some more localized heavy showers and thunderstorms out toward the Big Island. So it may not be a big, nasty band where everybody's getting tons of rain, but you could get intense rainfall rates in localized storms that pop up even out there. So that's why we're being vigilant and making sure that the flash flood watch remains in effect.
All right, then we're looking for a bright spot somewhere out there, Bob. The weekend is slowly shaping up to see more sunshine and fewer showers. Can we still hold on to that?
Yeah, I hope so. Again, like I said, it looks like maybe, this Kona low is going to hang around through the week, and we may get another pretty good wave of rain during the latter half of the week, but hoping that we'll see that weaken and lift out and maybe bring us back to trades by the weekend. We'll see if that holds, though. The models don't always do a really super good job in the long range with the movement and the strength of these features. Sometimes they lift out a little sooner and the threat goes away, or sometimes they hold on a little longer. So we'll keep an eye on that time frame, and hopefully we can give people some good news.
All right, Bob Ballard for the National Weather Service. Thanks a lot, Bob.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And Bob Ballard there. I just wanted to keep in mind that was recorded earlier for sunrise. So he mentioned that flash flood warning was extended to 9:45. It's actually since been extended to 12:45 for the Garden Isle and till 1 p.m. to here. Let's switch gears yet again. Let's get back to the coronavirus coverage because I wanted to give you the total numbers we're seeing right now. This is from Johns Hopkins University. Global cases now nearing 200,000, just a few shy of that. Global tests now at 7,893. The total U.S. cases 5,894, and for here in the state we have those 10 confirmed cases. Now keep in mind this, folks, the number that we're not seeing a lot in the media is that nearly 80,000 people worldwide who have contracted the virus and have since recovered. This morning we're going to let you hear some of their stories. We're going to check in with CBS's Dr. Tara Narula, who reported on this just a short time ago. Here is her story.
Excuse me, but it feels like hell. I've had the flu before. It's not even comparable. The fever is so high that you hallucinate.
AN preferred we only use her initials. She described a bout with COVID-19 that's lasted for more than 2 weeks.
I'm still having a fever, but it's coming down slowly. I'm only at about 100.8 at the moment, which is a dramatic improvement.
Initially treated at a Seattle area hospital in early March, she was not offered a test for COVID-19, but says the medical staff were concerned.
And I could see them through the window when they were preparing to come in, and they were utterly panicked, and they had no idea what they were doing. It was unnerving to be completely honest.
From home, AN dialed into a telehealth appointment and was promptly told to report to a clinic where she was swabbed in her vehicle and confirmed for COVID-19 in under 24 hours.
It was like a weight off my shoulders, honestly. It was like, I'm not crazy.
You'll know it. You'll know it if you got it.
Across the country and still hospitalized in Rome, Georgia, Clay Bentley used a baseball analogy to describe his current state of health.
I have felt like today that I've turned third base and I'm headed home.
He says symptoms developed a day after singing with his church choir 2 weeks ago. Diagnosed with pneumonia at a local hospital the next day, he was sent home.
4 days later, I was to the point I couldn't even get out of bed. I said, I feel like y'all sent me home to die. And I said, I can't even hardly move, and I can't breathe. I can't catch my breath.
Back at the hospital, he discovered several members of his church were there too.
And I have since found out that there were other people in that choir that's in the hospital now with coronavirus.
Now in recovery, he credits faith and family.
This has made my family very close. I mean, they can't wait for me to come home. So, but we're going to have we will have a celebration very soon.
That feeling of isolation is a shared experience of the coronavirus survivors who spoke with us.
In fact, I had someone over this past Saturday night to play a board game, and that felt great.
Elizabeth Schneider believes she and a number of her friends contracted coronavirus while at a party in Seattle. She tested for COVID-19 after her symptoms had subsided.
When I had the most severe symptoms, it literally just felt like I had a different strain of the flu.
With a background in microbiology and through her own experience, she shared some advice for the anxious.
If we look at the long term here, I think things will improve, things will get better. They probably will get a little bit worse before they get better, but things will improve, life will go on.
98% of those diagnosed with COVID-19 will survive, and some survivors, like Elizabeth Schneider, are paying it forward. She's donating her blood to science so researchers can see if the blood of survivors can actually help in the development of treatments and vaccines. Dr. Tara Narula, CBS News, New York.
And back here at home, here's an update on what's open and what's closed. We just learned tomorrow DLNR will be closing all state parks. This morning we learned Macy's and Bloomingdale's are shutting down nationwide at the close of business today, and that closure will last through March 31st. At this point, there has been no official ban on large gatherings. The city says it will follow the CDC's recommendation by canceling events with 50 or more people at its facilities through the end of April. That includes indoor city gyms and Hanauma Bay. But outdoor facilities like swimming pools, the zoo, beach parks, and parks will remain open. There's also no ban on restaurants or bars. Mayor Caldwell says if the virus continues to spread through the community, these could all be amended in the future.
And of course, today being St. Patrick's Day, you're wearing your green. I honestly forgot. But we've seen major closures because of that, because this is often one of the biggest economic makers for those bars and restaurants, many of them deciding, like Murphy's downtown, which traditionally hosts the big block party in Chinatown, canceled that celebration. They're offering to-go orders for all that corned beef and cabbage, those of you who want that. Other restaurants in that neighborhood making changes as well. But that's not it. There's also catering companies out there who are making big shifts to the way they do business. Jim Mendoza checked in with them. Let's check it out.
In his food truck, Travis Paulo prepares plate lunches and contemplates the impact coronavirus concerns are starting to have on his catering business.
I don't have as much bookings as I normally would at this time of the year, so I can tell, that some people are probably hesitant to even have parties.
Another caterer, Catering Connection, has had one event canceled and another one is up in the air.
It's very concerning.
Charisse Leong's company is a one-stop shop, so disruptions have a domino effect.
If they were to postpone, I would have to contact the rental company, the chef, even the staffing, to just let them know the event has been canceled due to the coronavirus and it may be postponed to a later date.
When he's busy, Paulo can cater up to 10 events a weekend.
So May, June, July, we do a lot of grad parties, first birthday luau's and whatnot, but mainly grad parties. And I would say the average party is anywhere from 250 to 300 people.
Those months account for up to 40% of his annual catering revenue. Leong and her parents own Catering Connection and understand the concern their customers are feeling.
It's something out of our hands, so our main concern is the clients and their safety and well-being.
Paulo also operates a food truck and food wagon. He remains optimistic.
I mean, if things do, seem to falter on the catering side, of course I'll have to be creative and figure out ways to, get revenue up.
Caterers aren't panicking, but they're on the doorstep of what normally is a busy time of year. Jim Mendoza, Hawaii News Now.
And there are ways you can help these small businesses you really care about. For eateries, for example, you can do takeout, you can do delivery. They really need the support during this uncertain time.
Certainly, and just keep in mind those advisories and guidelines that we get from the federal government and local government as you do so. I know that I personally am still doing the to-go and takeout, mainly because I can't cook at all, and all I have is a stash of oatmeal and like all those dry goods that I want to save in case I actually need them. But I'm still going to hit up the to-go, to be quite honest, for a few more days to come at least.
Yeah, and something interesting, my bar studio, they closed the shop down, but they're going to start doing online classes now through Facebook Live. So it's
that's
just
really
this,
smart.
Yeah, it's just this completely different way of doing business now, and this.
I know yesterday when 24 Hour Fitness announced that they were closing their locations, there was this audible reaction in our newsroom. I guess they're the popular client there, or the popular source for workouts. But a lot of places and a lot of ways of life changing completely for us out there. All right, celebrities news. With a little that's being impacted by the virus outbreak as well. We have an update on Tom Hanks and his wife.
Yes, so they've been released from the hospital after contracting the virus. Their son says they are still in self-quarantine, but they are feeling a lot better. The couple got sick in Australia, where Hanks is filming a movie about Elvis Presley.
All right, folks, that's going to do it today for This Is Now. We'll be back here this afternoon with more updates. We're scheduled to do an update around 3 o'clock from the H&N studios. That'll be on Facebook and our digital platforms, and if warranted, on our television stations. We're hearing we're going to get some sort of media briefing this afternoon around 1:30 from the state. It's unclear if that's going to be a live opportunity. If it is, of course, we'll stream it for you. We'll bring it to you on Facebook and our digital platforms there as well, and also warranted on our TV station platforms. And don't forget, please sign up for our newsletter that you can find on any of those platforms. There's a sign up form. It's super simple. It takes seconds, and then you will be getting all the day's updated information sent directly to your email, so you won't miss anything. I know that was a lot, folks, but I really thank you for joining us for This Is Now. For Ashley and myself, have a good afternoon.